Good morning, girls. Happy Monday. Great to be out here with you today. A little bit behind today as it's been a little bit slow of a weekend. Miss Robin here decided she was Wonder Woman and threw on the cape and just pushed it a little too hard last week. Forgot to wear my iron bracelets, so I actually pulled a muscle. So it's a little bit of a challenge here, a little bit of pain, but it's all good. In the end, because it will recover and we'll be fine. So just a little bit slower actually getting into the office here this morning. But good morning. So glad you're out here today. With it being Blue Monday, which is typically the third Monday of January, they call it Blue Monday, and it's the most depressing day of the year. And why is it so depressing? Well, what they've found in their studies is it's the highest day of folks being depressed. It's typically when your first credit card statements are starting to come in, from the holidays where you've overspent. So there's depression there because how am I going to pay the bills? Then you've also got the highest rate of divorces start happening in January. The death rate actually does go up in January. So it's just there's a lot of stuff happening in folks' lives. And so they call it Blue Monday. And it also is linked to, what I understand in the history and the study of it, a link to starting in the Mardi Gras in New Orleans and what goes down there. But when we talk about Blue Monday, that's why you see on social recently, everybody's posting about the suicide hotlines and everything else, which is great that we're putting this number out there. But I think as Christian women, when we suffer in depression, and we do, it happens, I believe that there's different levels of depression. I came through a depression as I was sitting in a back brace for the 9 months. I know people that are in a full-blown depression where they're seeking counsel or maybe medications, so there's different levels. And what happens in depression, at least I can top on the temporary situation one. I don't know what to call it. But when I went through the double back fracture, I did become depressed in times because I was so isolated. I was not able to function and do what I would normally do. And it put me in that mindset of despair and no hope. And I'm here to tell you the reason that happened is because my eyes weren't focused on God. My eyes were focused on my situation, my circumstance. So what I was truly leaning on was being happy and not being joyful. Because see, none of those circumstances, and none of the circumstances you girls are experiencing today, or will experience, or just may have come through, will steal your joy. Because your joy is something, and the girls from our study on the weekends know, I talk about this all the time, that when we talk about the difference between joy and happiness, here's your difference. Okay, happiness is based on your circumstances. It's based on what's going on around you. So it changes. There's times we're not happy. Maybe we're sick. Maybe we lost someone. Maybe we're broke. So there's no happiness. Joy is internal. Your joy comes from God. It's a gift from God. Nobody can steal your joy. You surrender it. So even though, and we talk about just my past and my testimony, even though everything happened the way it happened in my life, once I was saved and once I was a Christian and once I was growing with God, I always had joy through it. Now that doesn't mean I didn't get mad. That doesn't mean I was not feeling like Robin, but I always had a joy. And joy is connected to hope. See, because the whole thing as a believer, as a Christian, we have a hope that's eternal. We have a joy that is a gift from God. So are you pressing in on hope or joy, or happiness or joy? What is your focus? Are you looking to be happy? Then that's probably where you're missing it. You need to be seeking joy. So why is joy such a great word? Well, I'm going to tell you this, in the Bible, because I always go back there, that's where all of this teaching comes from, is whatever God's word says is what's brought forward. Okay? So let's look at the word joy. In the Bible, New King James Version, joy is mentioned 158 times. In King James Version, it's mentioned 165 times. And in ESV, which is the English Standard Version, 179 times. Do you think God was trying to make a point? So let's take the two definitions here. So if we take a look, I'm stumbling all over my words this morning. Just one of those days, you know? Okay, so if we take a look at how happy is defined. Defined from Webster's, and I'm taking this from Merriam-Webster. Happy is defined as favored by luck or fortune. You are fortunate. It's a happy coincidence. When we define the word joy, it says the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desires. The expression or exhibition of such emotion, a state of happiness. So now, let's take it and let's look at the Bible's definition of joy. Because isn't that what we're more concerned about? What does God have to say to us? I don't care what the world says. What I care is what God's telling me. So when we look at joy in the world, so we see that joy in the world is talking about, let's see, well-being, success, good fortune, okay, possessing what you desire. That's what they're calling joy. It's a pale imitation of the true joy that only comes through Jesus Christ. The joy that unsaved people experience is a temporary joy that comes and goes depending on the situation the person is in. The person's in at that moment. Because you know things change every day, right? We can have a great week. It changes all day long. We could start off with a fabulous morning and end up with something that possibly isn't the direction we wanted to see by the end of the day, or vice versa. You see, a person in the world finds joy and happiness when things are going well, when things are going their way, when they have what they want, right? When things get difficult, there is no joy in their life. You'll start seeing them become depressed and giving up and complaining and murmuring and whining. And that's because they don't have a joy that comes through Jesus Christ. But you girls, you have that joy as a gift from God. In Job 20, verse 5, Job's friend says to him, the exaltation of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless but for a moment. Because see, apart from God, you can't have joy. Joy is, in the world, just such a temporary situation. And that's why we see this on Blue Monday. We see such a high rate of all of this emotion because it's based on that temporary joy, that happiness. You know, again, happiness, being happy, is that external. Joy is internal. Joy is something God puts inside of you. And again, joy is a gift from God. It is His, it is Him. While happiness is based on your feelings and emotions. And those circumstances that we encounter every day in our life, girls, cannot take our joy. That's why, even though I was sitting there with a double back fracture, I still had the joy of the Lord. I had His peace. Even though 12 years ago, we went through a financial just collapse. We lost everything. I still had my joy in God. Because I knew God brought me to a point in my life. He's not going to just pull the carpet out from under me and leave me. Now, there were moments, don't get me wrong, there were moments I stood in my living room and I yelled at God. Why? Why me? I've done everything you've told me to do. I've followed what you said. I've tithed as you've told me, and now I'm sitting here wondering, how am I going to pay the light bill? And then I asked forgiveness, and I put my hope back in him. And every single time my husband would balance the books, he would pay the bills, and the bills were paid with some change left over. The tithing was done, and we still had some money left. See, girls, my joy is not based on my circumstance. If it was, I would have no hope. Yes, sometimes things are fabulous, but sometimes things are not so good. Where is your hope? Where is your joy? Are you looking for happiness? Or are you looking for joy? James tells us in James 1, verses 2 and 3, and I'm going to read from the English Standard Version today. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Now, we know that these things, and a lot of times we don't know until we come out of them, that God is putting us through stuff so that we can grow in our character, in our faith, in our trust in Him. See, we not need to look at it like, oh, Lordy, why are you beating me up, God? We don't want to do that. We need to be looking at it going, okay, I still have that hope of salvation. I still have that hope of eternal life. I still have that joy that He has given me. And we need to start asking ourselves when we go through some of these things, Jesus, what am I supposed to learn? What message are you teaching me? And I know it's hard. I've been in numerous situations, girls, so I get it. Where I start to react versus respond. Where I forget that my joy is eternal. That is not an emotional roller coaster that today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm not. Today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm not. Yesterday I was happy, in the morning I was sad, in the afternoon happy, sad. So I don't live my life like that. Because I know better. I really believe, as I look at some of these trials that we've come through, we have seen God's hand. We have seen Him touch other people. We have seen Him use us as an example. We have seen Him build the character in us so that we can be effective tools for His purpose. So my joy is not happiness. Do you understand that? There's a difference in that. So we see that we know Paul went through a lot in the Bible, right? And then, let's see, this is Philippians 2, 17 to 18. We see Paul, as he's facing incredible hardships, still have that joy of the Lord. And he says, even if I am to be poured out as a drink offering upon the sacrificed offering of your faith, I am glad and rejoice with you all. Likewise, you should be glad and rejoice with me. Because see, remember, he went through so much, and yet he still had that joy of the Lord. Peter tells us to rejoice insofar as you share Christ's sufferings, that you may also rejoice and be glad when His joy is revealed. And that's 1 Peter 4:13. So what are you basing your life on? Are you hoping for the happiness that this world is going to bring? Based on your circumstances, based on the fact if everything goes your way, you're happy. And I want you to really think about that today. Being Blue Monday, think about it. Think about those people around you today. If you go to work, maybe there's a mama that's working with you and she's a single mama. She's got 2 kids. Those bills just hit. And her spirit is being crushed because she doesn't know Jesus. Her hope is lost. How can you be a light to her? Because your joy, girls, is deep inside of you. Your joy is internal, inside, your heart condition. That's what we need to be sharing today. It isn't about being happy and cheering, rah, rah, things are great. And it isn't about talking to people with this mask on our face saying, oh, everything is peachy keen and wonderful. Because then sometimes it's not. When we're struggling, we need to be transparent. But the difference between somebody who struggles that is a Christian and somebody who struggles that's in the world is that joy. Because see, what you do know is a truth. No matter what you're coming through today, no matter what emotional, physical, monetary, spiritual, health-wise, does not matter when it comes to joy. Because that joy is still inside of you, girls. Nobody's taking it. You just have to bring it forward. And I know it is the freakiest thing. Once you can do it, it is the freakiest thing for somebody watching you. Because I remember when Greg and I went through and lost everything 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. I think it's more like 12 years now. Because when we were in California and the economy crashed, and I was doing real estate, and we lost everything. Everything but the first house we ever bought. And of course, we're questioning, we weren't living extravagantly. We were doing what we could to follow, what we should be doing. We were tithing as we should be and serving and everything and making sure we gave back to the community. And, I was actually teaching a called Money Works program for age. I wrote and a friend of mine helped do some input on it there. That we wrote for aged out foster kids and at-risk youth. Because what we realized is in the school system, they took out basically life skills out of what these kids had to learn. And so they were, going out of foster care and and in California it was pretty bad that, people were taking the money for the foster kids but not investing in their lives. So these kids would get out on the street and they'd start causing trouble. Next thing you know, they're tattooed up, they're in prison, they're getting out on parole or in juvenile hall because they weren't 18 yet. So all of this is going on, right? And nobody was reaching these kids. Some of these kids came from broken homes where there was no God in the home. And so they went to this place called Safe Place. The group actually converted an old apartment complex into a place for them to live. And each of them they had their own unit, so they had a kitchen in there and stuff. And what we did is we came in and we taught them life skills. We taught them how to create a budget, how to write a check, how to balance a check. And what was amazing with them is that when we met this group of kids, they had no hope. They had no joy. They were just lucky to not be in jail, in juvenile lockup. They were lucky if the police didn't harass them on the way home from wherever they were going. And it's just because they had a reputation. Okay, it isn't nothing against our police because the police were just doing their job. But these kids were hoodlums. That's the best way to put it. They looked for trouble and they created it if they couldn't find it. And so we got in there, and of course the first couple months it was like talking to a wall. These kids would show up, they're part of their staying there. They had to attend because they had to do some kind of life skills class, and we were donating the class and the time with them. And so we met them twice a month on a Saturday. And my husband and I would go, and we'd go through this binder that we created for them. And most of them just kind of sat there and, ignored it. And about 2 months into it, we started the walls started coming down. And they started opening up. And the reason they did is because they saw that somebody really cared. They saw someone was stopping their day to invest in them. Okay, you may think that that's like, so, what's the big deal? What is a big deal to some people? And it's not just the kids, girls. It could be that woman sitting next to you in church. Maybe she doesn't have friends. Maybe she doesn't have hope. Maybe she doesn't have joy. Maybe she's one of them that is ready to take her own life because she's so depressed. that investment in time into these kids opened up doors that I would have never imagined. We heard stories about how they grew up and what was the catalyst that caused them to change into this person that had no hope. And what was amazing with them is then we started teaching them other skills. So we started going in, nobody knew how to be interviewed. So you figure you've got this kid coming in a t-shirt for a job interview, tattooed up, right? Arms all the way up, piercings everywhere, and couldn't figure out why he couldn't get a job somewhere where he was at a front desk. And so we were able to sit down with them. We taught them how to dress to go to an interview. We taught them how to create a resume. We taught them how to sell themselves during an interview as we watched those lives change. And see, that's what it's about. As being a woman of God, girls, we're supposed to be out there as catalysts for change in these lives of people who may be struggling with Blue Monday. But it's not just on Blue Monday. We need to be doing this every day. If you have the joy of the Lord in your heart, you need to be sharing it with other people. If you don't, if your life is based on happiness alone, and everything that happens for you is this big old roller coaster where one day you're happy and it's marvelous, the next day it's not, then I really challenge you to get on your knees. Ask God, God, how can I be like Peter and Paul and Job and so many others in the Bible? God, how can I have your joy so apparent in my life that other people want what I have? How can I have your joy so apparent in my life that I can turn around and help change lives of those around me? God, how can I have joy, your joy, in my life so that that woman I'm sitting next to or sitting behind or in front of at church, I can reach out to her and love on her? It's time, women, that we step up and we be that example and we be that lead to them. Because so many people today, this is a real struggle. Blue Monday is a real struggle for people. And I pray it's not for you. Oh, girls, I pray that you are pressing into Jesus and not relying on this world for what you need. Because this world's going to disappoint you. Even inside the church, they're going to disappoint you. I've seen things from women in the church that I'm like, and you're calling yourself a Christian? You need to please sit down and be quiet, because what you just did to that person was wrong. We need to make sure what we are giving, if we're going to grow and we're going to thrive and we're going to be leaders, we have to have, number one, the eternal hope that God has given us and that internal joy that comes only from Him. Heated topic, huh? Because so many times we just want to be happy. We want to live that fairy tale happily ever after life. We want to live the life that we see on these Hallmark Channel movies and the Disney movies and all these romances that you may watch in the movies. But reality isn't necessarily that way. Life has ups and downs. There are circumstances and trials that each of us are going to go through during our walk. And know this, girls, the reason this happens is so we can build our faith in God. That's all. Now, some of the trials that you encounter or obstacles are because you pretty much put yourself in that position. Because see, God, remember, gives us a free will. So even though He may give you warning signs to don't do that, sometimes we're stubborn. And we will step and we will do whatever we want to do, even though we know we're not supposed to. But we have to understand that every action we take either has a result or a consequence. So happiness and joy, we need to pick which we want. I choose joy because I can't handle the drama. I can't handle the up and down. What I want is that joy to be shining through me, so that even though I go through a trial, that others see that joy and that hope I have in God. I have a dear friend right now whose husband is dealing with chemo, and he has some pretty bad days. But you know what? Every time I hear her and see her sharing, I see so much joy and peace in both her and her husband. What a phenomenal example for all of us. Because what she believes is hope prevails over anything else. Her joy is eternal. Her joy is internal. What is yours? Are you seeking happiness or joy in your life? It's a real question today. And if you're struggling with depression, girls, it's Blue Monday. Reach out for help. Ask for help, girls. Do not try to do that on your own. Because depression is real. And I really believe there are different levels to it. Because sometimes we're just depressed or blue or down because of a circumstance in our life at the moment. But sometimes it's much deeper than that, and you need to reach out. You have to remember, Jesus is your hope. He is your light. He is your strength. He is the wing. He will take you under his wing and give you peace and comfort and joy. Press into Jesus and ask for help if you're really struggling with depression. If you're struggling because of your circumstances, then it's time to pause, breathe, step back, and know that joy is internal and it is eternal. And you need to pursue joy, not happiness. Happiness is a side effect of somebody who really has joy in their heart. But if you seek happiness only, it's based on your circumstances where you're at today. So hopefully that helps someone. Girls, seriously, if you are having depression, reach out. Ask somebody for help. Ask them to pray with you. Go to a counselor. Call the hotline. Whatever it takes, get yourself some help. Because it's not worth taking your own life. There's people here that really need you. And that love you and want you to be around. So let's start healing and experience that joy of God in our life. And let's eliminate Blue Monday. Girls, there's no reason for it. If we trust in Jesus and if we press in, there is no reason for us to be blue, because we know that God has never left us, that he's still by our side. And that we will come through on the other side just as a shining light. His beautiful daughter, filled with joy. All right. So again, if you are struggling, please reach out to someone and let's get you some help. But know that we all want our joy, that gift that God has given us. I'll be praying for you. Have a beautiful day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.